Welcome to Gospel Glimmers. In the quiet hours of early morning, I knelt beside my bed, my heart heavy with a longing only God could understand. My prayers were a fervent plea for a job opportunity, one that promised financial stability. I poured my heart into the application, convinced it was the answer. The rejection letter arrived like a punch to the gut. "Why, God?" I cried out, my voice thick with disappointment. Why close this door when I needed it so desperately? The answer was a gentle whisper in my soul. It was a call to trust, to surrender my will to His. I began to see the no not as a rejection, but as a redirection. The path God had planned for me led to my true calling. It led me to a ministry that would touch countless lives. We've all been there, standing before what feels like an impenetrable wall of no in our lives. It's a place of confusion, doubt, and even anger. We question God's love, His goodness, and His plan. We wonder if He hears our prayers, if He sees our pain. The truth is, God is always with us, even in the midst of our disappointment. He sees our tears, hears our cries, and understands our pain. But His ways are not our ways, and His thoughts are not our thoughts. What feels like a no to us is often God's way of protecting us from something we cannot see, redirecting us to a path we were not meant to miss, or preparing us for something far greater than we could ever imagine. Our human perspective is limited. We see only a tiny fragment of the grand tapestry God is weaving. What appears to be a setback, a closed door, or a missed opportunity is often God working behind the scenes, orchestrating events for our good and His glory. In 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 9, the Apostle Paul writes, "But He said to me, 'My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness.' Therefore I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me." Paul, who faced countless trials and tribulations, understood that God's grace was sufficient, even in his weakness. Just as a potter molds clay, shaping it into a vessel of beauty and purpose, so too does God mold us through the trials and triumphs of life. He sees the finished product, the masterpiece He is creating in each of us. Sometimes God's no is not a rejection, but a redirection. It's not a never, but a not yet. He knows the desires of our hearts, and He promises to fulfill them in His perfect timing. In Psalm 37, verse 4, we are encouraged to take delight in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart. Notice that it doesn't say, demand of the Lord, or dictate to the Lord. It says, take delight in the Lord. Our joy, our fulfillment, should not be contingent on our circumstances, but on our relationship with Him. When we surrender our will to His, when we trust in His timing, we open ourselves to the fullness of His blessings. We learn to find contentment in the present while we wait with anticipation for the promises He has in store for us. Embracing God's no requires faith, a faith that trusts in His goodness even when we don't understand His ways. It's a faith that chooses to see the unseen, to believe in the impossible, and to hope against all hope. Romans 8:28 reminds us, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." This verse doesn't say that all things are good. It says that God works in all things, even the painful things, the difficult things, the things that make us question everything we believe. When we embrace the no with faith, we open our hearts to the transformative power of God's grace. We allow Him to work in us, to shape us, and to mold us into the image of His Son. God's timing is perfect, even when it doesn't align with our own. He sees the bigger picture, the intricate tapestry of our lives, and He knows the perfect moment for every blessing, every breakthrough, every victory. In Ecclesiastes 3, verse 1, we are reminded, there is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens. There's a time to plant and a time to harvest, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to embrace and a time to refrain. Trusting in God's timing requires patience, a willingness to wait on the Lord, to surrender our timeline to His. It's in the waiting, in the quiet spaces between our prayers and His answers, that we grow in faith, deepen our intimacy with Him, and discover the beauty of His unfolding plan. The Christian life is a journey filled with twists, turns, mountains, and valleys, best traveled hand in hand with the one who knows the way, who promises to never leave us. When we encounter a no, it's not the end. It's a redirection, a moment to seek His face and trust in His love. For in Jeremiah 29:11, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to give you hope and a future." So let us walk by faith, knowing God works all things for our good. Like, share, and subscribe for more.